Hey gang, hope you all are doing well today. I'm excited. I got something a little bit different. As many of you know, I've done some commentary on this channel and live streaming and whatnot. But today, what we're going to be going through is the thrilling conclusion of the Swindle team events season 1. I guess I'm not sure if they call them seasons. Karen had asked me to do just a little bit of commentary over this final match. And we'll get into some of the details here shortly, but to just kind of set the stage first, this was a multi-week, maybe months. I think there were 7 or 8 rounds in the tournament, or in the league, if you will. And the format was Newton. So if you're not familiar with Newton, this is a really interesting format for me, especially as someone who loves Tesla. But the premise with Newton is you bring a single deck, and you play 2 games, so 1 standard and 1 reversal, against your opponent, who has also only brought 1 deck. So the deck that you brought, you will also play, and your opponent will play against you. So first of all, really cool, very interesting. The way that works is if you manage to win both games with your deck, then you get 3 points, I think it is. And if each player wins 1 game, then it's actually each player gets 1 point. So obviously the idea is to be able to win with your deck, but then also pilot your opponent's deck very well. Maybe work through, or kind of exploit a weakness in the deck that you brought to try and win both games. But suffice it to say, I do think there are a fair amount of situations where games go or rounds go 1-1. Now, to further complicate that a little bit, this was a team events scenario, or a team events event league, whatever you want to call it. So there were actually 3 players on each team. That means that each team had 3 decks, and each player would be matched up with another player on the opposing team for that round, and they would play Newton. So they do the 2 games, 1 standard, 1 reversal. And in the event of ties, so in the event where I think basically have to be all 3 players would have to go 1-1. Then that would obviously be a 3-3 tie in that particular round with that team. So they had it set up so there were some tiebreakers, and basically what that meant was, I think you as a team would, I guess, pick someone, and you would also pick any of your 3 decks for the team. You could pick any of your 3 decks for the team, and then your opponents would do the same. And then you'd get in a lobby, and you'd actually, flip a coin, roll a die or whatever, probably use a bot, a Discord bot, to determine whether or not that final round, you just play 1 game, is standard or reversal. And then you just go at it. So that is just kind of how the tiebreakers worked. Now, excitingly enough, in the very final round, for all the marbles, if you will. And I forgot to mention, this was a double elimination round, or double elimination event. So basically, if your team lost 1 week, then you still had another chance to continue running through the bracket and potentially make it to the finals. So what we're going to be watching today and kind of chatting through is the finals. So this is the final 2 teams remaining, both of which had 1 loss. So I think they were 6-1 coming into the event, into this match. And to make things even more exciting, the teams tied in their normal round play. So everything boiled down to one final game here. So that's just kind of to set the stage, let you understand what's going on. The 2 teams we have were Bad Resurgence, are Bad Resurgence, which is, Xander, Merton, VGC, and Nunzio. Nunzio is going to be playing the cards today, against team Can't Touch Dis, which is Not Tonight, Caveld, and Crusader. And Crusader will be playing the cards for Can't Touch Dis. All right, before we hop into the actual game, I do want to show you really quick. This was the kind of the final standings here, if you will. So Team Bad Resurgence ended up, going, this would be round 7, so 6-1. with a total of 40 points. And from what I understand, Bad Resurgence was basically leading point-wise from the second or third round on. So had a very dominant run through this particular event. And Can't Touch This ended up here with a total of 38 points. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter where we're going. The important thing here is that each team is 6-1, again, being double elimination. So whoever loses, or whoever wins this match, rather, will be the victor of the first Swindle team events. And subsequently, will all of the players on that team will win invites to the KFPL, which is super exciting. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at both the decks here. So Nunzio is, or I should say, Bad Resurgence has brought Yuffie Stone, Delegata di Tombalieta. Absolutely nailed that. And Can't Touch This has brought Miss Dranzed de Castle. I'll go ahead and throw links to these in the video description, but of course, feel free to pause the video and take a look more closely if you'd like. We have the comparison, the DOK comparison summaries here. We got Brobnar, Logos, Saurian. Actually, both houses sharing Logos and Saurian. And again, I'm sure people have come through with different strategies for how they wanted to play Newton in particular, and as someone who hasn't actually played Newton, I can't really can't really give a whole lot of advice on it, aside from the fact that it's really cool, or it seems really cool. But there's a couple things to like about both these decks. I mean, I think they're both pretty solid in their own ways, but not necessarily like the greatest decks you've ever seen, but there's also gross stuff in both decks. I mean, it's tough to deny this triple tribute. We got Senator Shrix. This one does not have the Calipigian ideal, unfortunately. You just can't have everything. But one thing I did notice here, as I was looking at these comparisons, I was a little bit confused, but the artifact count here, so Miss Dranzed has seven less artifact points. I don't know if that means there are a total of 7 artifacts. There are 7 artifacts to none in Miss Dranzed here. And Miss Dranzed also has 4 Ember controls, so double Tachyon Pulse here. So I think that'll be interesting, something interesting to watch. Because there are definitely some pretty useful and handy artifacts in Yuffie Stone. We got, of course, the Pile of Skulls, which is lovely. Hologramophone, Seismo Entangler, some nice protection, and Reap Hate there. Also, got the Golden Spiral. I mean, even City Gates is pretty decent. So there'll definitely be some artifacts in Yuffie Stone that you probably wish you could have played and used. But with the double Tachyon Pulse, that'd be interesting to see how that works out. Anyways, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time looking at these decks. If you're interested, check out the links in the video description, and you can look at them a little bit more on your own. But let's go ahead and hop on over to the game and see how this goes. All right, we're gonna go ahead and hop on into this. You'll note that my face is gone. That's good. Let's get that thing out of here. Players have worked through their starting hands, and it looks like we've got Nunzio. So Nunzio is going to be playing. This ended up being a reversal match. So Nunzio is playing Miss Dranzed de Castle, and Crusader is playing Yuffie Stone, Delegata di Tombalieta. We have the Medic Ingram lead from Nunzio. Crusader follows up with a pretty legit Logos turn. We get the Seismo Entangler, Quantum Finger Trap, and Zenzik coming down on the board. I will take a moment to mention here, just for those who have watched content on my channel. You may know a little bit, may notice a little bit of a quality difference in terms of the video. That's simply because I didn't record the gameplay, thanks to, I think it was Caveld, who did record the gameplay. Yeah, so it's recorded at a little bit of a different resolution than I normally play at. So hopefully that's not too much of a problem. But I think the important part is we'll be able to see the gameplay very nicely. Nunzio is going to call into Logos, drop down the Tau Tau Vapors. Nunzio saying, look, you got the Zenzi Zenzi Zenzik. You can draw 2 additional cards. I can do that too. And I can also archive a card. But I suppose the question will be, can Nunzio do anything about the Zenzi Zenzi Zenzik? Because I got to say, in my experience, a Zenzi on the board is a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of extra cards to be looking at each turn when your opponent's only looking at 6. So looks like we have a card being discarded. Well, the Tau Tau being discarded, of course, and we get one tossed in the archives. I will also mention, because it's a recorded video, I can't interact with anything like the discards or anything like that. So apologize if I just absolutely screw up something that's already been played or discarded. As y'all will know, I don't have very good memory, so it's great that I play Keyforge. We have the Jar Gogol coming down, Sanitation Engineer flanking the Medic Ingram, and passing back to Crusader. Now I think I did a reach out here, and this Yuffie Stone deck, as I understand, is owned by Nunzio. And I think the Dranzed deck is not specifically owned by Crusader, but is a team deck. Can't touch this team deck. Oh, I do recall looking at this. The Yuffie Stone deck actually has 2 leaders. So we got Zenzi Zenzi Zenzik, the leader you want, and then you have Kallik Stonefather, which maybe you don't want as much. But I suppose Kallik Stonefather in the realm of Worlds Collide means that you also have Brobnar, which is generally not the most exciting house, the most exciting prospect to have. But we got the Mog Hunter, Kallik Stonefather coming down, discarding Gron Nine Toes, once again wanting to maintain that benefit from Zenzi Zenzi Zenzik. Nunzio comes in with a Star Alliance turn. We have Light of the Archons going on to Medic Ingram and Calvin, so we'll get an additional draw off of the Reap, off of a fight here off of Zenzi Zenzi Zenzik, rather off of Medic Ingram into Zenzi Zenzi Zenzik, putting some damage down, and we do see the Zap, which I imagine is going to be able to finish off the Zenzi Zenzi Zenzik, and for good measure, put a couple points of damage onto the Kallik Stonefather. Of course, the Medic Ingram warding herself. It's like a weird Z-Force agent, a Z-Force agent that doesn't generate a huge amount of Ember, but can still ward itself after a fight. So that's a handy little trick. Now, interestingly enough, we do have the double Tachyon Pulse, which I did sort of forget, also exhausts each creature with an upgrade, which I suppose isn't really that huge of a deal, given the fact that, Nunzio will probably just opt to activate the Medic Ingram prior to playing a Tachyon Pulse. We'll see if that comes into play here. And let's see, I've got this going on the side screen here. Looks like a total of 4 upgrades in Miss Dranzed de Castle. So potentially some more options here. We got a Cloaking Dongle as well and a Stunner. Potentially could be going on that Medic Ingram. Crusader is calling in with Brobnar. Got the Shattered Throne. Shorty comes down, so that should activate the Kallik Stonefather. So in case you need a refresher, Kallik Stonefather says, when it's in the center of your battle line, each friendly creature gains Skirmish. So bada bing, bada boom. All those Brobnar creatures have Skirmish, just like you want to see. So yeah, Crusader coming out the bat, getting some value out of 2 different house leaders. You love to see it for sure. And with Shattered Throne on the board, is going to get some Ember control as well. Again, for those who are not familiar, Shattered Throne, after a creature is used to fight, it captures 1. Now, compared to Pile of Skulls, Pile of Skulls, a creature has to be destroyed. It doesn't have to be through fighting. However, Pile of Skulls is not a symmetrical effect. So Pile of Skulls will only benefit Crusader if/when it gets played. Whereas the Shattered Throne is a symmetrical effect. So that means that if Nunzio does some fighting, then they will get the benefit of that Shattered Throne. And again, the Shattered Throne is simply just used to fight. A creature does not have to be destroyed. All right, so we got the Mog Hunter fighting the Sanitation Engineer, dealing 2 damage, to Medic Ingram to pop the ward, and of course capturing with Shattered Throne, reaping with Calic Stonefather, and throwing down a NARP. There's one. There's one you don't see a whole lot, don't see very often in the competitive play. The NARP. Fortunately, this deck only has a single NARP. So, pardon me while I take a drink there. Nunzio is just working out what to follow up here. I think we've seen a Logos. Got some Logos in a couple Star Alliance turns coming from Nunzio, and so far we've got was it Logos Brobnar from Crusader. So both. So no Saurian. There you go. That's the trick right there. That's the what we're that's the information we're figuring out from right there. Is neither player has played Saurian. Nunzio calling back into some Logos. Has the Tau Vapors. I'm going to draw 2 more cards and figure out what to archive. And of course, in Dranzed Decastle, there is a fair amount of stuff that you probably don't mind archiving. something Tribble Tribute, Crassosaurus, all sorts of funky stuff that you'd love to be able to pull out when you actually need it. I will say the Logos in this deck that Nunzio is playing is pretty spicy. The double Eddy, double Tau, knowledge is power. I'm also, I really like Sanitation Engineer. I feel like maybe Sanitation Engineer is better in decks that have cards that you don't mind discarding. But I have a soft spot in my heart for the Sanitation Engineer. We get the Thorium Plasmates to take out the Calic Stonefather. And swiftly dealt with both of those leaders. And then we get the Cutthroat for the Amber Titan Guardian to throw down some protection for that Medic Ingram. And then Jargoggle simply to reap. So not looking to glean any benefit from whatever is hiding underneath Jargoggle at this current point in time. Still haven't seen a Saurian turn from either player. I suppose it's not all that surprising. Wanting to do potentially some hand shaping, and get themselves in a situation where they can have a large turn of whatever that third house is. But at a certain point, you're going to run out of stuff on the board, and you'll run out of stuff in your hand that you can play. So we will eventually. I feel like this is like whenever I watch sports. And like listening to the commentators, there's just some of the stuff they say is just like that. They're just like, well, you see here, Mark. See, this team right here needs to score more points. That's the problem. See, they're not scoring enough points. And it's just like part of the commentator's curse is just saying the glaringly obvious. To presumably fill the space. But oh man, I digress. What do we got going on here? Let's see. We got Crusader thinking stuff through here, wondering what the next step is, and in fact indicating as such in the chat. And need to remind you all and myself, literally everything is on the line in this one game. So we have, the culmination of the first ever Swindle team events right here in this game. So I think it's probably worth taking a second to think stuff through. I think it's probably worth it. I will say I haven't followed the league particularly closely. I do think that all of the decks were published at the outset. So players would have had the ability to look through and work out what they wanted to play in this type of situation. But keeping in mind, I don't think that their selection in the tiebreaker would have been made available to each other, to the other team. So, for example, I don't know if if both teams knew what the other team was playing just in the tiebreaker here. So, so there's that. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I got to say, I'm a fan of Newton. I think it's a really cool concept. Having played a lot of Tesla, I think one of the big downsides to Tesla is deck disparity. And I think Newton is a really pretty elegant. I don't know if it's maybe not solution for that. In some ways, it is. It's a solution, but just kind of taking that out of the game a little bit. You obviously, if a deck is vastly more powerful than the other deck, then in theory that deck will win both matches. It's not a guarantee. Certainly in Keyforge, there can be some variants that can affect that. But where's I going with that? Yeah, I just think it's kind of cool because then you at least have a chance in a match where one deck is significantly more powerful than the other one to at least kind of have the draw and get 1 point each for that, as opposed to just completely losing that round because the deck you selected or your opponent selected was maybe not kind of in the same vein as the deck you were playing. So I think that's pretty cool, and it's elegant because it's all it adds is one more game, and if you got some experienced players, those games can go relatively quickly. And I feel like the playing through a best of two, not a best of two, just a two game round is a little bit nicer than having to do a best of three, where sometimes you got to actually play the third game. All right, Crusader is going back into Brobnar. I wonder if there's maybe a discussion or a thought here, whether to kind of deal with some of this board stuff and not play a bunch of stuff from hand, or maybe something else. We do see Crusader reaping with Mog Hunter. Shorty fights the Titan Guardian, and Narp fights Medic Ingram. So one nice thing here is that Titan Guardian was not surrounded by two creatures, which is to say that Nunzio won't get the 2-card draw off of that. Won't get that kind of hit of efficiency, if you will. Also, Crusader has captured an additional bit of amber, care of Shattered Throne. Now, the Shattered Throne, and I guess this is another difference. We'll just go back to this really quick. Shattered Throne, the amber has to be captured by the creature that does the fight, as opposed to Pile of Skulls that can be captured by any creature. We see a another Starlance turn coming through here. Tachyon Pulse to destroy the Seismo Entangler, Quantum Finger Trap, and Shattered Throne. Plays Cloaking Dongle onto Jargoggle. And we got a Stunner and Force Field. Maybe I missed the Force Field somewhere. But actually, that's kind of funny. I don't think I've ever seen... I may have never seen a Jargoggle with an upgrade on it, now that I think about it, because for some reason it just looks kind of goofy seeing the Jargoggle play effect card upside down. I don't know. I just either I've just not seen it, or I've completely forgotten about it. But it looks kind of goofy. Oh, here we go. We got a Saurian turn. I feel like there's some amount of like, all right, Ember control is needed. Odoak comes down, capturing one from Nunzio. We got the City Gates coming down. That City Gates just like wiping its brow, is sweating with those Tachyon pulses. So to see the Tachyon pulse go bye, one of the two of them get played. The City Gates is like, oh, I'm okay, everything's good. And we've got a Chant of Hubris to move an Ember from Mog Hunter. And puts it onto Jargoggle. That of course does not change the key situation here. So Nunzio able to forge their first key with 0 remaining ember. 0 remaining ember. That is not my mouse moving around. I'll let you know that. So first to a key, Nunzio taking the first key in this 1 game spectacle. Only 2 more keys. That's how Keyforge works. Remember, I'm the commentator here. Got to say the glaringly obvious stuff. Yeah, I wonder if you look at both these decks, if there's probably a certain way. If there's a certain way you want to lead with these decks, like a certain house that either of these decks would like to lead. I think, of course, Yuffie Stone, we saw the Zenzi coming down early. But, is there, like wanting to get the city state down early to be able to do some capturing that way, or maybe trying to get that pile of skulls down early as well could be nice. Whereas I feel like so far Dranzed Castle has pretty much been doing what that deck would possibly want to do, which is to say, you got your Taus going. You've probably managed to stuff away some stuff in the archives that you're going to want to get some use out of later. We actually haven't even seen a single Eddy come down either. So we do know that that's going to be coming down the pike here. Looks like Nunzio's got 6 cards in hand, had 6 cards in hand, and 11, or rather 12 in the draw pile. So making some good progress through the draw pile, and Crusader sitting at 18 cards left in the draw pile. So moving a little slower, but again, not entirely unexpected against a deck that can archive as much as we've seen with Dranzed Castle. We do see a follow-up Saurian turn, so it looks like Nunzio's like, all right, well, Crusader took a Saurian turn, I can take a Saurian turn. And yeah, that's what we got. Senator Strix comes down. This is the, I love this. This is the Senator Strix, the Senator Strix pause, where you played Senator Strix and you're thinking to yourself, do I? But do I? Do I exalt Senator Strix? And it looks like the answer is no, but that may in large part be because Nunzio has a tribute. And at this point, tributes puts 2, can opt to exalt Senator Strix to get some more. We got then city-state interest. Okay, cool. So that's going to spread some ember around. 3 ember on the Strix that can potentially be used to forge for Nunzio. Doesn't currently look like Nunzio is going to be on check, but we'll see. We got the Phalanx Strike to deal 3 damage to Mog Hunter. And do we see the exaltation, the exalt? That will be the question here. Yeah, exalts onto Senator Strix, going to put Nunzio on check with the Senator Strix. And let's see, deals 3 damage to 3 more damage to Mog Hunter. Okay, so both sets of damage to the Mog Hunter. Senator Strix sitting on the board. Crusader probably going to have to do something about that. Otherwise we're going to get a key care of a fair amount of ember from Crusader's own pool. Crusader currently sitting at 0 ember and 0 keys. Nunzio sitting at 2 ember with a sneaky 4 ember on Strix with a key already forged. There's not going to be any goofy unforging of keys in this particular matchup. So don't have to worry about those keys slipping away from you, which is I guess that's a thing. It's nice. One thing I thought was kind of interesting, and maybe I should have looked at this a little more closely with those different decks, but DOK currently rates them both at like the same ember control, so 10 versus 11. And I don't know, that's pretty. Like, one of them has triple tribute, double Eddy, got a Crassosaurus, because it doesn't really have anything in Star Alliance. It's Dranzed Castle. But I mean, Yuffie Stone, I guess, has ember control options. It seems like most of them require some type of setup, with the exception of City State Interest, Berserker Slam, Odoak, Cutthroat. Yeah, so I think that's one of the big differences in the Ember Control situations between these two decks, which is to say, Miss Dranzed does it out of hand, just plays cards and gets Ember Control, whereas Yuffie has to have the pile of skulls on the board, for example, or have the city gates on the board to actually be able to get some of the Ember Control value out of it. Again, with some exceptions, potentially Groke can be played, and then Ganger Chieftain can get some Ember Control value out of the Groke in that way as well. Doesn't look like either of these decks is doing anything with stealing. So by and large, Gargantodon, isn't worthless. It's just a big body that doesn't really prevent anything. Although it's a big body in a deck that has Calipigian Ideal and City Gates. So a way to capture Ember. All right, we see a Brobnar turn get called again. Fights Senator Shrix with Narp. Ganger Chieftain to ready in fight with Narp again to fight Senator Shrix. Because the cloaking dongle. That cloaking dongle, I guess, doing some work. And look at that. Narp still not dead. That Narp's just like, oh man, I keep beating up on stuff, but I can't, I can't die. Eddie coming down. Got a Logos turn. The Reap with Jargogol, which has, if I recall, Stunner. Yeah, stuns Odoak. Wild Wormhole to play the mini group Think Tank. And I'm gonna have to refresh myself on that one. I feel like that one can sort of get you. Play Fight Reap. Deal 8 damage to a creature that shares a house with 2 of its neighbors. Okay. So safe play at that point, but depending on your battle line situation, you can get yourself in trouble, or you can potentially do some damage from your on your opponent, which is nice. Leaves it at that. Nunzio sitting at 4 Ember, 4 Ember, 1 key. Crusaders successfully having stopped the key. I think that stun on Odoak's probably pretty nice. Simply because we know Crusader probably does not have much more Brobnar to be played at this point. And obviously Crusader's going into a Logos turn right now. Tau Vapors going to be able to draw 2 cards and archive 1. But just essentially reducing options on one of the 2 houses that Crusader is likely going to be playing is nice. So the stun on Odoak maybe seems like at first glance like, okay, well, Odoak, first of all, has captured Ember and is one of the lesser powered creatures out there. Why am I worried about that? Well, as Crusader has probably limited all their options in Brobnar for the time being, or exhausted all their options in Brobnar for the time being, locking down 1 creature in the only other house they have on the board is pretty nice. We do also see Cutthroat Research come down, Thorium Plasmate to move and absolutely blast Eddie. So Eddie's out of there. No more Ember Control benefit from Eddie. So that's nice, especially because Crusader has managed to end turn on check, passing over to Nunzio. We'll see what that looks like. See if that remains to be the case. Now, of course, we've seen one of those triple tributes get played. Nice thing here is Nunzio has a Paraguardian on the board that could potentially be activated here. So Nunzio could potentially toss down a creature, tribute onto it, and then immediately ward it. So offering some protection there. So that's pretty nice. Oh, here we go. We have an Odoak coming down. We got the Tricerian Legionary to ward. Even look at that. Don't even need to use the Paraguardian's ability. Paraguardian simply gets to reap, and we get the Imperium. Oh dear. And Odoak does enough there with the single play capture to remove to take Crusader off check. So that is a pretty nice turn. Pretty nice turn from Nunzio. Nunzio hasn't quite flipped over the deck, but already down to 0 cards left in the deck. And of course, Crusader looking at a pretty big disparity there. First of all, Nunzio already having been through the deck, we know for a fact that Nunzio has access to, I guess potentially two the tributes or even an additional Eddy here. So definitely something to be thinking about. And Crusader here, throwing down the Golden Spiral, unstunning the Odoak. We are going to get a use off of City Gates, so that should hold Nunzio off check here for a turn. However, we do know that having already gotten through the entire deck, Nunzio has access to that second Tachyon Pulse, which we haven't seen yet. So I would imagine this Golden Spiral. Now that the Golden Spiral has hit the board, I would not be surprised to see Nunzio, take a Star Alliance turn here. I suppose the real question is, does Nunzio want to potentially take Crusader off check, and that is what we'll see. Actually, Crusader may not even end up on check. So there's also that city-state interest getting played to absolutely spread some Ember around. So that's pretty good. Looking at the board control situation between these two decks, relatively similar rating-wise, but I would say Yuffie Stone is kind of lacking in the out-of-hand board control department. Miss Dranzed, again piloted currently by Nunzio, has a Quintrino Flux, as well as a Red Alert, although we're not particularly in Red Alert territory at this time. So it seems like this might be a decent option to take a Star Alliance turn, get those two, high value, at least the Golden Spiral off the board. But we'll see where Nunzio takes this, because there's also a fair amount of Ember that can just be reclaimed nearly for free with all those wards out. But yeah, he also, like, that Narp's nearly dead. That Narp is one Quintrino. It's like 2 damage away, so it's like a zap. It's a zap away from being toast. Speaking of the Quintrino Flux, though, here, what are we looking at? So you got to pick one of yours and one of your opponents. So it's I guess it depends on if you want to, protect your warded creatures. The nice thing is Odoak sitting at 5 there can potentially just be rewarded by the Paraguardian. But like a Quintrino Flux for 5 and 3 is pretty good here. I guess you lose your mini group think tank, and you lose wards on the Tricerian Legionary and the Odoak. But again, as I mentioned, Paraguardian can re-up the ward on Odoak. But you get rid of the Redder, the Ganger Chieftain, and Odoak, reclaiming 5 Ember, ending up back on check, which is pretty nice. The benefit there is probably could have played the Tachyon Pulse. But Nunzio is going to take a Saurian turn here, so maybe up to some other shenanigans. We'll see what those shenanigans might be. We've seen the Imperium. If we've already seen the Phalanx Strike, we haven't seen So Salt. I don't recall unless I missed it. We also haven't seen some tributes in a Crassosaurus. So can't imagine there's a huge amount left to be played out of hand. I think we're going to be seeing a pretty board-centered, board-focused turn. The So Salt does get played there, so until the start of your next turn, creatures cannot reap. So in fact, yeah, Nunzio definitely signing up for the them's fighting words option on that turn, and it works out well for him. Sitting at 7 Ember. On check for key number 2. We'll see if Crusader has a way out. We did just see another Saurian turn from Crusader, so it's anyone's game at this point. It's anyone's game at this point. When I say that, I mean it's anyone's game at this point in terms of what Crusader picks next. Currently, the game I would say is trending towards Nunzio. We've got solid board presence. And we know there's a fair amount of Ember Control in reserve, in stockpile. NARP, as formidable as NARP is, NARP can really only do so much. And outside of calling Brobnar to fight or do something like that, Golden Spiral is going to put another Ember on the NARP before it inevitably gets killed. If it were to fight, I feel like this is a pretty challenging spot for Crusader right here. And Crusader and team can't touch this. There's just a lot of momentum, a lot of potential to, even just generate Ember, and more access to cards, more access to Ember control that Nunzio is most assuredly sitting on and potentially drawing back into. We do see a Saurian turn here. Okay, so we got Golden Spiral to Exalt, ready and use Dilophosaurus, so that's great. Great. One of, absolutely terrifying Saurian creature if left unchecked. Having the Reap ability, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck, archive 1, add 1 to your hand, and discard 1. So the Dilophosaurus, interesting. The Dilophosaurus fought the mini group think tank. Oh, there's no reaping. That's what it is. Nice. So wow, the absolute value coming down from So Salt. I totally missed that. Absolutely missed that, and that is probably a little bit of a bummer for Crusader there, because now there's an extra Ember sitting on the Dilophosaurus that otherwise wouldn't have been there, and it was effectively for no real benefit. Now, fortunately, Crusader was saved a little bit by that cloaking dongle on the Jargoggle. So at least the Dilophosaurus is alive. And we do see the City Gates capturing 2 Ember onto a dinosaur. Which that dinosaur being Questor Jarda. The classic dinosaur you would capture Ember on, the one of the dinkiest dinosaurs you'll find. But Questor Jarda is elusive, so that's good. That's definitely a good thing. Nunzio back into Tau Vapors. So trying to think. I think Nunzio drew a couple cards off the top there. What was it? Played So Salt, discarded Crassosaurus. There may have been something else in there, and they had 0 in their deck, so really only drew probably 2, maybe 3 cards, and managed to get back into Tau. So that is pretty fortunate, being able to get into that, go back into Logos, gonna get some more value from stuff on the board, and get some value being able to draw off Tau and stuff something else in the archives. We haven't seen the second Eddie, so we're probably going to see another Eddie right now, unless unless the second Eddie is stuffed into the archives, which is entirely possible. It could be, still advantageous to keep a bunch of that Ember control in the archives, even while calling a Logos turn. I suppose there, could have been a reason to pick up the archives, play the Eddie, archive 1, then Tau to archive a second. You're still going to get you're still going to get moderate value out of, moderate Ember control value out of that. Oh my gosh, look at that. Wild Wormhole into Tau again. So Nunzio has drawn 4 additional cards this turn, archived 2 more, gets an additional Eddie out on the board. So honestly, that's a mood right there. That is 100% what I would be saying if I were Crusader. Just the oof. Oh gosh. And the knowledge of power to gain 6 Ember. Oh my. Oh, Nunzio, what are you doing? Crusader's got a family. Come on. Jargoggle to reap. Stuns Dilophosaurus. That's a great stun right there. Lock down the Dilophosaurus. It can still be used off of the Golden Spiral after the unstun, but significantly less useful and more risky as you throw more and more Ember on it. wow, that was something. That was something. It was brutal. Oh man, that was a huge turn. Huge turn for sure. I really do wish like had the ability to see what was in the archives right now, because I feel it can't all be one house at this point. It just can't. We see Crusader taking a Logos turn. I feel like this is probably just a let's start moving. Let's start moving. Try and get something going for us. Maybe try and line something up. Get the Jargogol coming down as well. Going to get some efficiency off of that. Playing a card under that. Stuffing a card under that, rather. We have the Positron Bolt to kill Eddie and put some damage onto the Tricerian Legionary and the Odoactive Patrician. But I got to say, it's looking like the end is absolutely nigh. I think there would have to be something absolutely hideously misplayed for Nunzio to not take this home at this point. But we'll see. It's Keyforge. Anything can happen. I think the big Ember control options really are all in Miss Dranzed Castle, again piloted by Nunzio. This being the reversal by coin flip. So there's not really much left in the tank on Yuffie Stone outside from maybe a big city-state interest play. City-state interest, which in theory isn't necessarily all that unlikely. With Philophosaurus, could potentially get in the top 3 cards of the deck. Actually, interesting enough, if Philophosaurus is, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck, so you don't actually draw cards. So I take that back. And furthermore, take that back, the Tachyon Pulse just absolutely blasts the Golden Spiral out of the sky, further reducing the options for Crusader in this exhibition match to close out season 1 of the Swindle team events. We'll see. I've been wrong before. Crusader might have something in the in store here. Unfortunately, they haven't cycled over their deck, and this is actually interesting. Just looking again at in comparison here, Crusader, no cards left in the deck, just about to cycle for the first time through their deck. Nunzio only has 7 cards left on their deck for in their second cycle of the match. So certainly some huge efficiency. Notwithstanding that, I would say relatively lucky, fortunate last turn for Nunzio with or 2 turns ago rather, with the Logos. And just the double Tao wild wormhole situation. That was pretty good, but I feel like there was a lot already going on for Nunzio in this match. We do see a Crusader throw down the GG, playing their turn out, one final turn for Swindle team events, chapter 1, season 1. Look at this. We got some Saurians being played. But ultimately, it's considered that a victory because Crusader takes the dub, or rather takes the one final key for the road. But Nunzio will close this out, thus concluding the first season of Swindle team events, which is super cool, really awesome event, and we've got Bad Resurgence taking the cake, if you will. Xander, Merton, VGC, and Nunzio winning themselves some spots to the KFPL. And what an interesting game to watch. And yeah, that's it from me. Thank you all for checking out the video, and I will see you next time.